Let's get you right over to the White House, because any minute on the left side of your screen there, you're going to see the first on-camera reaction from the Biden administration since that announcement from one senator that's putting President Biden's #1 agenda item in jeopardy. We're going to go live there when Press Secretary Jen Psaki gets to the podium. We think it should have happened 27 seconds ago, but any minute we expect to see her as this war of words now is coming up between the White House, between progressives and Senator Joe Manchin for the last 24 hours after the West Virginia Democrat, as you know, bucked his own party and potentially killed the Build Back Better Act. Senator Manchin firing back earlier today, saying he was at wit's end in negotiations with the administration and rather cryptically suggesting there was something specific that pushed him over the edge. Listen.
They know the real reason what happened. They won't tell you, and I'm not going to.
We'll find out more about that, and we'll get into the new reporting from our sources who say Manchin is a no, partly because of concerns that parents might use the child tax credit to buy drugs or use paid family leave time to go hunting. We'll have his office's response to that as we are live at the White House and on Capitol Hill. We'll also hear from a member of the Progressive Caucus who insists Build Back Better will be back. I'm Hallie Jackson in Washington as we juggle all of this afternoon along with our NBC News team. Mike Memoli is posted up just outside the briefing room that you are looking at live right now on the North Lawn. Sahil Kapoor is on Capitol Hill. We're also joined by Mariana Sotomayor, friend of the show and congressional reporter for the Washington Post. Good to see you all. And Mike, let me start with you because we thought we were going to see Jen Psaki about an hour ago. Briefing got delayed. These things happen. We get it. But the White House is clearly unhappy with Senator Manchin, who announced his decision on Fox, right, after reportedly rejecting the White House's call. You heard from the senator today. There is this back and forth. What do you expect to hear when the press secretary takes the podium?
Well, Hallie, my first prediction for you is that you're going to interrupt me while I'm talking as Jen Psaki walks out into the briefing room any second now. My second prediction is that we actually may hear the press secretary begin with some news about COVID. The president was meeting with his COVID team this afternoon. That's one explanation. My guess is for the delay that we've seen in this briefing starting on time. Of course, the president giving a big speech on this tomorrow. But the other thing that these kinds of delays prompt questions about is indeed whether or not we're waiting for a phone call to happen maybe between the president and Senator Manchin. There's no indication.
Do you have any signs there? Oh, okay.
No, no indication.
When you say things like that, ma'am, it makes me think that maybe you're hearing something. I don't know.
You're the Memoli whisperer here, so you were right to maybe be suspicious, Hallie. But I think the biggest thing we're all going to be watching for as we see the press briefing begin is whether the tone and tenor from the podium today matches the tone from that pretty strong statement from the White House yesterday after Senator Manchin made that blockbuster announcement that he was a no on the Build Back Better Act. We saw the kind of language really pointed from Jen Psaki, a statement, by the way, that we understand the president himself signed off on, that we don't typically see from this White House. This is a president who has long said he doesn't want to engage in these kind of personal critiques. He wants to, he said, as often said, you can question somebody's judgment, but you should never question their motives. This statement yesterday was pretty close to that, saying that there was a breach of trust, in fact, between the president and the senator who met in person at the White House just last week. We learned that, and as there is this press secretary.
Your prediction has come true. We're going to listen in to Press Secretary Jen Psaki speaking live now from the podium at the White House.
The Senate has confirmed the most diverse class of federal judges in history at a rate not seen since President Reagan. As you may have seen Friday night and Saturday morning, the Senate confirmed dozens of historical and critical nominees. This included 9 district court judges, bringing the total for the year to 40, more than any president in his first year in office since President Reagan. But it's not just the sheer number of people nominated and confirmed. As the president said at his commencement address last week at South Carolina State, he's proud to have appointed more black women to the circuit courts than any administration in American history. We've confirmed the first LGBTQ woman ever to serve as a federal circuit court judge. And these 40 judges include people who have previously served as public defenders, labor lawyers, and civil rights lawyers, as well as prosecutors and government attorneys. The Senate also voted to confirm 41 ambassadors to countries around the world, including critical allies such as including Japan, France, the European Union, and more. These qualified, competent leaders can now finally get to their important work representing America's interests abroad. There's a lot of work to be done, and we'll continue to work with the Senate to make sure we have the people in place so that we continue to serve the American people. Also wanted to note that the Department of Justice announced today that they'll be awarding $1.6 billion in grants to support a range of initiatives to reduce violent crime and make our communities safer. This money will help address the surge in gun violence that we've seen over the last 2 years and will bolster steps that the administration has already taken to crack down on violent crime, including the president's comprehensive strategy to prevent and respond to gun crime in June. These grants will help advance community violence intervention programs. They'll support evidence-based police and prosecution strategies. They'll ensure the victims of crime get the resources they need. They'll help people returning from prisons and jails transition successfully back into their communities, and they'll support responses to crises like drug overdoses and mental health episodes. This is just the latest example of historic levels of funding that President Biden has made available to cities and states to address crime, including through the Rescue Plan, through investments in proven community violence intervention strategies that we announced in April, through the COPS community policing grants announced last month, which are helping to put 1,000 more police officers on the beat across 183 police departments this year, and through early Department of Justice awards, including $1.2 billion for victim assistance and compensation programs and more. With that, I would say, since there's space in the back, why don't folks who are standing sit in some of the back seats, just because I know everybody's focused on the spacing in these days. Go ahead, Colin.
Okay, a couple things. So on Omicron, cases are rising dramatically across the country. Americans are still traveling en masse. Biden is giving a speech that has been labeled urgent, but the speech is tomorrow. The vice president also was saying that scientists were caught off guard by the variants, and then there's been pushback from the scientific community on that. So can you help just talk a little bit about what the White House's message on Omicron is? What should the public be thinking? How should we be concerned? What should we do? And then the second one, I'm sorry, I'll ask you after. Go ahead.
Absolutely, Colin. Well, let me first say that the president, as you noted, will be addressing the American people tomorrow, and he'll talk about what to expect as we head into the winter months and detail additional steps that we will be taking. The president has been clear that while vaccinated individuals get COVID he will restate tomorrow, I should say, that while vaccinated individuals get COVID due to the highly transmissible nature of Omicron, their cases will likely be mild or asymptomatic. We continue to see, and our health experts assess, that you're 14 times more likely to die of COVID if you have not been vaccinated versus vaccinated. Importantly, he'll restate we're prepared and that fully vaccinated individuals have the tools to protect themselves with a booster shot and masking where CDC recommends. For those who choose to remain unvaccinated, he'll issue a stark warning and make clear unvaccinated individuals will continue to drive hospitalizations and deaths. That is not trying to scare people, or maybe it is trying to make clear to people in the country what the risks are here of not being vaccinated. What is clear is that we're not in the same place that we were at, and this is something he'll reiterate tomorrow as well. The beginning of the pandemic, thanks to the president's extraordinary work to get over 200 million Americans vaccinated. To be clear, COVID-19 is not the same threat to fully vaccinated individuals that it was in March 2020, and I outlined some of the reasons why. And again, as I said at the top, he will also announce additional steps. So he will outline this clearly tomorrow. He has been candid and he has been direct as he's provided updates to the American public throughout on our steps to address what we know is an unpredictable virus and our fight against a once-in-a-generation pandemic. But that's what people can expect tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. On the negotiations over Build Back Better, we see Senator Manchin's version of events sort of differ from the White House's version of events in your statement on Sunday. So this was yesterday. Feels like a long time ago. I just wanted to know if you could talk a little bit about like where the gap is, if the negotiations fell apart over the child tax credit issue, if the White House is prepared to go around legislation on the CTC if necessary. Kind of where are we with Manchin?
Well, I would say I think the lengthy statement that I issued yesterday outlined pretty specifically the events of the last few weeks. And it was important to the president and to all of us to make that clear to the American people, the status and the steps that had been taken. But I'm not going to relitigate the TikTok of yesterday from here today. I will say that from the president's viewpoint, and I saw him this morning, he's worked with Senator Manchin over the course of decades. They share fundamental values. They're longtime friends. That has not changed. And what's most on the president's mind is the risk of inaction. And if we do not act to get this legislation done, and the components in it, not only will costs and prices go up for the American people, but also we will see a trajectory in economic growth that is not where we want it to be, and we've seen projections from Goldman Sachs and others today on that front. So he's no stranger to legislative challenges, and we are going to continue to take steps, work like hell to get it done. Go ahead.
Does the president feel betrayed by his friend?
I think our statement yesterday made pretty clear what we feel, what was the factual depiction of events that happened. But again, the president sees Senator Manchin as somebody who is a longtime friend, somebody who has worked well together on, and our objective and our focus now is moving forward.
Where do the lines of communication stand at this point between either the president and Joe Manchin and the White House staff, which you spoke about? Is there a contact at all?
I'm just not going to assess or give you an update on specifics from here.
Okay, just quickly on COVID, ahead of tomorrow's speech, should Americans expect any new restrictions?
This is not a speech about locking the country down. This is a speech outlining and being direct and clear with the American people about the benefits of being vaccinated, the steps we're going to take to increase access and to increase testing, and the risks posed to unvaccinated individuals. Go ahead.
Does the president still trust Senator Manchin?
Again, I understand the questions here, but our focus is on moving forward. I think our statement yesterday made clear what the course of events were over the last couple of weeks. It was important for the American people to know and see that, but he considers Senator Manchin a longtime friend, and our focus is on moving forward and getting this done.
Are you confident that all 49 other members of the Democratic caucus are still on board with Build Back Better? Since we're looking ahead.
Sure, I understand that. I can't obviously speak for all of them, but I think you saw quite a bit of unanimity yesterday in the response of people and their desire from across the Democratic Party and the desire to get this legislation done.
What would be his message to progressives who he asked to hang with him as things moved over to the Senate, now that what many of them warned has happened?
Well, I would say, one, his message would be we need to work together to get this done, and he's going to work like hell to get it done. And that would be his message, and January is an opportunity to do exactly that.
Quickly on Ukraine.
Yes.
The State Department issued a level 4 travel warning today, saying U.S. citizens should be aware of reports that Russia is planning for significant military action against Ukraine. Jake Sullivan spoke with his Russian counterpart again today. Apparently over the Pentagon, they've just said that they've conducted an assessment of air defense needs in Ukraine. Obviously, you've said you're monitoring this. Is U.S. intelligence picking up something new?
Well, let me first say that the travel advisory for Ukraine remains a level 4. Do not travel due to COVID-19. The State Department updated it to include information on Russia's military buildup on Ukraine's border, just to provide additional information, but it has been at a level 4.
But nothing new otherwise.
Well, again, they provide the State Department provides additional information through travel advisories to make sure they are being transparent with American citizens who are in different countries, and that's exactly what they did in this case. And we have historically seen large numbers of Americans and others, of course, traveling to Ukraine during this time of year and the holiday season. So it was just an effort to provide that information directly. Go ahead.
Jen, your statement yesterday alluded to working more on Build Back Better next year. Is your expectation that President Biden and Senator Manchin will talk at all before the end of the year?
I'm just not going to give you any updates on their engagements from here. I wouldn't expect, and we're going to keep those private.
Got it. And do you regard his $1.8 trillion proposal as a non-starter, given that it excludes child tax credit?
I think the president has been clear about, and I'll let Senator Manchin speak to the specifics of his proposal. I'm not going to confirm those details from here of what I know. I know there have been reports out there, but I'll let him speak to that. But I would say that the president, of course, wants to extend the child tax credit. That's something he has spoken to. We know that it was a significant contributor to cutting in half the child poverty rate. I'm obviously not going to negotiate from here, but he doesn't think compromise is a dirty word either.
One COVID question. On Sunday, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio asked the president to invoke the Defense Production Act because of a shortage of at-home tests, monoclonal antibody treatments, and he also said that the Pfizer antiviral pill should be fast-tracked. Are any of those things under consideration at this moment?
Well, we're in touch, I will say first, with the City of New York and the state, as well as all officials across the country experiencing upticks. We've sent 30 ambulances to the state and an accompanying team of personnel to help balance patient loads among hospitals across the state. We've already used the Defense Production Act and spent $3 billion to greatly expand the number of at-home tests, so that's already something we have tapped into. And as I noted earlier, the President will have more to say tomorrow in his remarks about our efforts to expand access. Go ahead.
Senator Manchin this morning in a radio interview said this is staff, and they drove some things that they put some things out that were absolutely inexcusable. They know what it is, and that's it. Do you know what he's referring to there, and do you have a response to his comments about the staff?
I don't. I would point you to Senator Manchin to outline further.
And then can you walk through, and I know you don't want to talk about yesterday's statement, but the cost-benefit of, you guys have been so cautious, I think in the President's direction, of never speaking ill or laying out details of negotiations, what the calculation was by deciding to put out a 700-plus word statement being very clear about, I think, some palpable anger inside the White House related to a critical vote in the caucus.
Well, I think Senator Manchin had a strong statement yesterday, and we had a strong statement as well. And we're ready to move forward and get this done and work like hell to do that. With Senator Manchin, with members of the Democratic caucus across the Democratic Party, and that's our focus moving forward. But that was our basis of our calculus yesterday.
And just one more quick one. My understanding is what Senator Manchin put on the table, which you referenced in your statement, was it a final offer? It hadn't been rejected. It was kind of a process that was underway. What is the process now? Are you working through proposals? Is staff dealing with policy issues? Where do things go from here in terms of the actual proposal?
Well, clearly the next couple of weeks will be important and pivotal and certainly involve high-level staff engagements, involve the President and his engagements directly with members. And we have been engaged with leadership, with members of the Senate and their staff over the course of the last 24 hours to talk about the path forward. You saw, I'm sure, Leader Schumer's statement this morning, and we will stay in close touch and in close coordination with him and his team on the path forward in January.